Diana, welcome to the show. We have already a huge milestone that we have to check off today. We are both on the same Riverside link today with this podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you so much for having me. It's always just a pleasure. I'm so humbled to be here. Thank you so much.
So why don't we start off, Diana, by letting the listeners know a little bit about your medical background and kind of walk into that idea of burnout. I'm sure that journey is going to hash itself out here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Brett. So I'm Diana Londono. I'm a urologist in Los Angeles. So I'm a surgeon that deals with anywhere where the urine passes, kidneys, ureter, bladder, all the genitals. And really, we do both surgery and we also see patients in clinic. We do a lot of procedures.
Can you tell us kind of like a summary of those instances? And if you've got one, how do you get over it and then come back and do it again?
Yeah, that's a great question because you feel like, well, one time is enough and you're not going to experience this again, but it can happen in the same person. It can happen again if you don't realize, what got you there and how to get out and really how to maintain. I think also whether it's burnout we're talking about or medicine, we are very reactive. We treat the disease, we don't prevent. And I think in both instances, if you don't prevent, then you are going to end up with illness. You're going to end up with burnout. And burnout, just to clarify, it is chronic unmanaged stress and then leads to this symptom of burnout. And it can feel, you're apathetic, you feel like depersonalized, meaning like.
What was the cause the second time around for you that was causing this stress and this fear? What was it that was kind of eating away at you every single day? It was like a ball and chain.
Yeah, for me it was COVID. Everybody has a different, relationship to COVID. But for me, I really was afraid. I was not even a frontline, physician, but I really was definitely afraid of what it was, what could happen. It was really triggering a lot of things, even from, past childhood, probably trauma, but I was in a state of fear. And I also absorbed everybody else's fear and seeing what was happening to colleagues and seeing some just literally were dying at the beginning when we had no mask, we had no idea what it was. And just reading like this Facebook feed of news that is just inflammatory and it just is there to get you scared. That was not helping anything. So I was really putting my attention into that. Again, reading all these stories that just were making like the story worse than probably it had to be. So it just really, again, the stress hormones were like off the hook, and that really was a place where you really learn what fear and stress does and how it really affects your body. And you don't have to get to the point, but again, many of my colleagues will have these pains in their back, in their neck. They will just feel dreadful. They, again, will have anxiety. They'll have depression, panic attacks. They will just break down and not want to get out of bed. They really will go to a breakdown. And I just hope that people don't get to that point, that they really start realizing we can be preventative and we don't have to crash and burn. And if we are in a place where we're feeling hopeless and we're feeling, alone, then definitely reach out for help. Yeah, movement, it's so powerful. I think movement is definitely life and health. And you can think about, I'll go back to urology too, but, if you can't get the urine out, if it's not moving out of your body, there's going to be pain and there's going to be infection and there's going to be badness happening. So whether you can't pee or your mind or your thoughts are just spinning in this loop and you're not moving out of that loop, if you're not moving your body, you're not going to feel well. So I think when we are feeling stuck, especially, or even if you're feeling angry or even a little anxious, moving your body is going to really help you move out of those emotions. Yeah. You don't have to put it on Instagram. You can just do it at home, put on the music that you like, that makes you feel alive, that makes you feel happy, and you will change your internal state. Music is a frequency, and we're all frequency, we're all energy. Einstein said it, I didn't. We are all energy. So when you can get to that frequency of a different place of the sadness and apathy and gloom, you're gonna feel better. And so movement is huge, and that's why exercise too is so important. And you don't have to get crazy. You can just go walk or bike or surf, whatever is fun for you. But moving your body with exercise, it's a type of meditation. You're moving the breath, you are moving your body, you're sweating out all the stress energy. So that is just as powerful as antidepressants, but nobody's prescribing exercise. But it's so, so powerful. And you can do it and it's free most of the time. You don't have to even pay for it. So whether you're dancing, you could call movement, you're exercising, going outside, being in nature, it is so, so healing. And it can just be just as powerful as like an antidepressant.
But what are some common burnout, reasons that you've been made known of?
I think it's huge, and it doesn't matter if you're a physician or not, but boundaries are huge. And learning to say no is such an important skill. And if you have kids like you do, you'll know for sure that kids have no problem saying no, but we beat it out of them. And especially if they're girls, even more, because we always tell them like, oh, be nice, be a good girl, like you have to say yes. And that's just crazy, like that is a gift for them to learn to say no to things. I mean, even though it frustrates us as parents, like when they say, no, I don't want to take a shower, or whatever it is. But this skill of learning to say no is so important, because when we say yes to everything, then we feel like overwhelmed. Then we are just so thin because all our energy is spread everywhere. And many of these things that we even say yes to are like unpaid, and there's, there's no compensation for our time, especially as women, this will happen. And again, you're going to feel depleted. You're not going to have time for other things like playing music or things that you want to do, or going to the gym, or spending time with your kids, or whatever you want to do for your own, self-care and filling up your cup is not going to happen. So I see a lot of like this fear of saying no, this fear of like, I cannot do that. And then when we live in fear, again, what is happening? We're living in fear, and then our stress hormones just go all over our body. I mean, our heart, if we think about our heart or anything in nature, I mean, they rest. Like, there's seasons. Like, there's not many flowers that bloom all year long. I mean, they rest, they hibernate, and they come back. Our heart pumps and then rests, pumps and rests. It's not just pump, 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 pump. Or you can't continue to inhale, 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 inhale. You gotta exhale. So there has to be a balance. But our society thinks that the more you do is the way to be. And when we don't realize rest is crucial, and that is so important, and that actually is going to make you more effective, more creative, give you more energy to do all the things you want to do, it's like, well, something's off, and then it's going to catch up. We think we're invincible. We think we just keep going. But then people keep going because they're doing like tons of caffeine, drugs, whatever stimulants they can get their hands on, or, they're addicted to something, obviously overworking and shopping and sex and something. I mean, you have some addiction to keep you going. Then again, there's no balance, and that's not healthy. So we have to realize rest is essential, and it's not something to, shame people for doing, and that you should not do. I mean, that's insane not to rest. To not understand the importance of sleep. Sleep is so crucial. And I mean, there's a huge thing of, people feel like, oh, I waited this long, and then, the grass is gonna be greener when I have this paycheck. And then also, then you kind of are in this lifestyle you truly can't afford actually. You are buying all these things because you didn't have them before, but it's like all in credit, and you really are now working to pay for all these things. This house that you probably can't afford, and the purses for your wife, and this and that, and this vacation, and people can do whatever they want in their life. I'm not going to judge it. It's whatever makes you happy. But we have to realize then you're going to have golden handcuffs. Then you're really stuck. Then you really don't have the leverage to leave, because you have all the stuff to pay that you really truly maybe can't afford. And so if you live a different lifestyle, and then also realize, during training, I mean, the happiness is not over here. The happiness is that moment when you're resident, even if you're not making money, like that is a privilege to take care of people. It's a privilege to learn all the things that we're learning. It's a privilege to be there every day, whether you're getting the money compensation or not. I know people will fight against it, but I mean, the happiness is there, and the happiness is the next moment where you're present. I think so many people want to camouflage and be something else, and they feel so uncomfortable just being their true selves of like what they want to say, what they want to do. Like they hold back, and then they don't speak their truth, they don't say what they want. And I think also, especially in women, it's so challenging to say like, what do you want? Men and women too, but women more. But also you hear a lot of like, what is it that I don't want? But what do you actually want? If you don't know what you want, then you can't get to wherever you're trying to go, because what is it that you want? And like, it could be a simple thing, just like, what do you want for dinner? But then we talk about like then the bigger things. But if you don't practice in the small things, it like translates to the bigger things in life. So being yourself, being authentic, really learning boundaries to say no, and just realizing like you are the most important thing again. And don't let other people's ideas and thoughts like really color like your ideas about yourself, because people are going to say a lot of things.